I got laid off in 2016, and at the time, it felt absolutely terrible. I had student loans, I had credit card debt, and at the time, like I said, it felt terrible. I was anxious, I was scared, I was worried about where I'm going to go in the future, what I'm going to do, and at the end of it, it turned out to be one of the best things to ever happen to me. And I want to tell you in this video 5 reasons why it was actually a good thing. And if you get laid off, don't take it personally, don't take it badly. Think of it as another part of your career path. And in this video, I want to explain to you why. So the first reason why getting laid off was a good thing is that I had become complacent. I was perfectly okay with just working the same job. At this point, it sounds ridiculous, but at the time, I was okay with retiring at this company. I was okay with getting a pension from this company. And how things change, how things completely change. Now, I don't even think that working at a company is worth it for my personal, the way that I think, the way that I work. I'm willing to put in a lot of work if I can get a reward. It's really easy to stay at the same company doing the same work for a really long time because sometimes the job is easy. Sometimes it just you have people around you. You have certain people that you try to interact with all the time. For me, losing my job meant I was forced to develop new skills and apply for better roles, meet new people, work with new people. And if I had stayed at that job, I think I would have been a lot further behind in my career path. The second reason why getting laid off was a good thing is that I stopped relying on a single stream of income. After I got laid off, I made it a goal to do something that will either give me multiple income streams or increase my income just in general. And after getting laid off, I started looking into side hustles. I started looking into doing the CFA designation. When I completed it, it's helped me with my career path. Before I got laid off, I was pretty much stuck with just my one job. The job that I was doing, I was getting a certain wage and I was okay with it. If I hadn't gotten laid off, who knows? Maybe I would have been at the same company. Maybe I would have been a manager there, making a few dollars more per hour. But leaving that job forced me to look into having multiple streams of income because having more than one stream of income is the only way to keep your finances secure, regardless of what happened to your job. So if you were to lose your job, you have no control over whether or not your company is going to pay you. You have a manager, you have shareholders, you have people who may want to cut costs, and maybe you're the next one on the chopping block. So if you have a second stream of income, if you can build a second stream of income, I would highly, highly recommend it. Multiple streams of income is one of the best ways to make sure that you're secure over the long term, that your finances are secure. The third reason why getting laid off was a really good thing for me was that I started questioning job security. Before this, I always thought I'm secure in the job that I have, and I'll have this job for a really long time because everybody who I know, my parents, my uncles, my aunts have had their jobs for 20, 30 years, a very long time. They stayed at the same job because they kept getting paid more. They basically worked a job from the beginning of their career to close to the end of their career. And the company was paying them, they were paying them for loyalty, but no, that doesn't happen. That's not the case anymore. I don't think that companies pay you for loyalty anymore. I don't think that job security is something that people should rely on. When you work at a company, the company will cut you if they need to save money. The company is a living, breathing organism. And if you're taking too many resources from that company and that company feels like you're a parasite, it will cut you off. The management will cut you off if they need to. And job security is not something that you should rely on. I think it's much better to look at your options, to figure out what else you can do with your career rather than staying at one company and thinking that, oh, this company is going to keep me forever. Look at your other options. Look at what else you can do. I learned about job hopping because of this. I learned about working the same job for 10, 15, 20 years versus moving from job to job, developing new skills between those jobs, and then moving with those skills to another company. When I worked at that company that laid me off, I was there for 11 months. I thought that I was a great worker. I thought I was reaching all my goals. I was hitting my numbers. I was actually getting the monthly bonus. They had a bonus structure. I was getting it every single month, but I got laid off. It was completely unexpected. There's no such thing as job security. So if the company is willing to cut you off after you stop being valuable to them, you have to think of it the same way. If the company is no longer valuable to you, if you're no longer getting a high enough wage, if you're not earning more money over time, if you're not being able to fulfill your own personal needs, then that job isn't for you. If I were to go back to a job now, I would constantly be looking for a better paying role, because that's the only way to really grow. That's the only way to improve yourself over time. After leaving that job, I also learned that a lot of management, there are certain managers that really care for you and they want you to grow in your career. And this is part of that job security. There are other managers who are only in it for themselves. They only care about their own personal growth. They only care about themselves progressing in their own career. And your peace of mind doesn't matter to them. Your ability to pay for your expenses doesn't matter to them. They don't care if you're stressed out. But I've had managers who are amazing. They've asked me how I feel in my personal life. They've had their own personal relationships with their employees. They were constantly giving them pointers, telling them what to learn, asking them for their own advice, asking them for feedback. The next reason why getting laid off was a good thing for me, why it was one of the best things to happen in my career, was that the new job that I got paid a lot more. When I was working at this company that laid me off, I was helping with people trading, people buying futures, buying options, buying any kind of financial instrument. And I was helping them with setting up their accounts. I was helping them with funding their accounts. I was helping them placing trades. I was helping them with just education, just in general education on the markets. And I left this job. So I was making about $17 an hour at the time. This was in 2016. When I moved to a job at TD Bank, I was pretty much doing the same job. TD Bank had a much bigger department of people who are doing the same job. And when I moved from the first company to the second company, the first brokerage to the second brokerage, I got a raise, an $8 raise. I think it was like 30% or something like that. I went from $17 an hour to $25 an hour, maybe more than 30%. But I went from $17 an hour to $25 an hour. And part of this was because, of course, I was able to move my skills from the old company. I had some experience. I had some skills. I had all the necessary prerequisites, everything they needed for an employee to just start immediately. And they gave me a premium for doing so. So I got laid off, I think it was around October or November. And then I got the new job in January. Pay raise, so it worked out really well for me. As a bonus, my commute was way shorter. So again, if you get laid off, it's not always a bad thing. You might get something better. You might get something that you like more. You might get something that you enjoy more. Something that's actually aligned with your goals in your life. And at the time, like I said, I wanted to get a pension. I wanted to work for this company until I retired. And it seemed like from the old company to the new company, I was put into a much better position because the new company had a pension plan. They had a defined benefit pension plan, which is much better than most of the plans that are out right now. Right now, it's defined contribution. I'll explain these in another video, but I won't go into that. But it was a better pension plan, and they actually had a pension plan to begin with. My old company didn't. And over time, if you can build skills, if you can develop yourself to a point where you can actually be valuable to your company, if you can provide the insights that they need, if you can help them grow, they will very likely be willing to pay you more. And combined with job hopping, you can use your skills to get paid a lot more from other companies. If you just stick to one company, maybe you're not going to be paid the right amount. And if you move to a different company, maybe you get paid a lot more. You get better perks, you get a better manager, you get better benefits, you get paid more. And that's just how it is. When I moved from the old company to the new company, I went from a company that was small. They probably had 200 employees to TD Bank, which has something like 100,000 employees around the world. But that means that there was a lot more room for growth. So the old department that I worked in had about 50 employees. The new one had something like 1,500. And this meant that the new team needed more support. They needed more analysts. They needed more people to look at the numbers. And over time, that's where I transitioned. I moved from working in a call center to becoming an analyst, helping people with their helping people with their numbers, helping people reach their goals, helping people sell more of their financial products, whatever they were, helping people understand the markets better and improve the company in general. So the impact that I was making went from a very small impact, helping one customer at a time, to helping an entire department of 1,500 people at one time. And I moved from basically being a financial services representative or an investment representative to a business analyst. And then I moved on to another role as a fixed income analyst. The fifth reason why getting laid off was a great move for my career, unintentional, but still a great move, is that it forced me to develop new skills. Losing my job basically made me think about building new skills to increase my income, to actually be able to get another job. I personally felt like the skills that I had were not enough. And because of the new job, I started pursuing the CFA designation. I started learning Microsoft Excel. I started working on just different parts of the Microsoft Office suite. I started learning PowerPoint. I started learning Microsoft Word. If I hadn't gotten laid off, I think I would have probably tried to just climb the corporate ladder for the same company for years rather than getting paid working somewhere else. So if I hadn't moved, maybe I would have still been stuck at a job where I'm getting something like 50, 60K a year. When after leaving, I went from my job at this first company where I got laid off from $17 an hour to $25 an hour, to then $32 an hour, to then $40 per hour plus bonus. And now I'm just a full-time content creator. And who knows, maybe if I hadn't gotten laid off, I never would have gotten to this point in my life. So if you get laid off, don't worry. I don't think it's anything that you should take personally. I think it's something that you need to obviously prepare for, build an emergency fund, build some savings, build a way to rely on yourself rather than having to rely on your government if you do get laid off, if you don't get your job again. Try building a side hustle. If I'd started working on social media before I got laid off at that first job, my social media business would be so much bigger. And maybe I never even would have had to find another job. So what I would recommend is, if you are in a job right now, maybe start doing something on the side. Anyone can post on social media and make money. Anyone can do affiliate marketing. Anyone can do multiple things. I'm not saying that this is the only path you can take, but there are other paths as well. If you want to start your own business, start it as a side hustle. Don't wait until you get laid off or fired to start that business, because that stress is going to make sure that you underperform. It's going to make sure that you don't do the best work that you can, and you don't get, obviously you don't earn as much money as you should. So if you get laid off, like I said, prepare for that in advance. You don't know when that could happen, but if you do get laid off, don't take it personally. Don't think of it as something that's ruined your life. I personally felt that way, and I wish I had some guidance at that point teaching me that this isn't a bad thing. It actually ended up being a great thing. And if somebody had told me at that point, maybe I wouldn't have been so stressed out. So just something that I think a lot of people should know. I think people should know this. I think people should understand that if you get laid off, it's not your fault. Sometimes it's the company's fault because they can't even manage their own finances. So don't take it personally. Don't take it negatively. Use my lessons as things to look forward to, and start applying these things before you get laid off or before you get fired. Start working on building your own business. Rely on yourself. Don't rely on a company. I think that would be one of the biggest takeaways here. Rely on yourself. You don't know when your company will not need you anymore. You are your only escape plan. You are your only plan B. Escape the rat race. Get out of it with Bitcoin. Build your own businesses. Be more productive than the next person. And I guarantee you'll be perfectly fine even if you do get laid off or lose your job.